All right, Luke, so let's go through Christopher's swing now. I've taken a bunch of notes on it. What I'd like to do is we're going to use George Springer over here just to be able to kind of compare and contrast some of the things we're going to talk about. Anytime I look at hitters, stylistically, every hitter is going to be different in many ways. But what I like to do is pick out the core principles, what I believe are the core things in every elite hitter's swing that allows them, like we talked about in the first video, to have really good path, good bat speed, and quickness. And so those are the things we're going to really hammer on today. And I'm going to cover all 5 of them with Christopher's swing. Even if he does something well, we're still going to just go through it because I want it to be a complete analysis. I want him to be able to use this analysis and be able to, use it for years and be able to look back maybe years down the road. His swing is going to continue to change over time. And so I'd like to just cover everything so we have a complete analysis that he can reference for a long time. Before we get into breaking down the exact swing and going over the core principles, just a big picture thing with him. Right now, really, the main issue with his swing, or the main thing that I see that maybe it's not causing him issues right now because he's still very, very young, but as he gets older, I think it's going to need to be, addressed, is his rear elbow and how the position of his rear elbow and how it really gets forward in his swing causes his barrel to really drop. So some people call this bat drag, where the barrel really gets kind of left behind the body and dragged behind the body. And 2 things really happen. One, you're not able to release the barrel into the ball, so a lot of times players will kind of just block the ball off to right field. This makes it difficult to hit balls that are more inside. The other thing is it causes hitters to have a path that's just really, really uphill because the barrel is just so low. The only thing they can do, they're either going to be completely under the ball and they're going to swing and miss a lot and foul a lot of balls off, or they're just going to have to really, they're going to be on this path, which is really, really difficult. They're going to top spin a lot of balls to the left side. Again, probably weakly fly out more than they want because of how low the barrel gets. And as he moves up in levels and pitchers become, they start to throw a little bit harder and just become a little bit better. It's going to make it much more difficult. Now, this is somewhat common for young players. And so what I want to do, again, I'm going to hit on the core principles. But for me, his main issues really lie kind of in the upper body. We're going to talk about in a little bit the pullback, which is really important for him. We're going to talk about using the hands and feeling his palms working palm up, palm down, and feeling the handle and all those things. Again, they're going to be the really important big picture or big things we're going to talk about, but I want to do the entire swing, okay? So let's start, before we even get to that stuff, let's start from the ground up. So I always like to start from the ground, and I work my way up the body. The back leg, I call it the engine of the swing. It's really, really important. A lot of things we're going to talk about here at the beginning of the video is getting into a good position to hit. If you can get into a good position to hit, then the swing will really start to fall into place the way you want it to. But when you don't get into a good position, whether it's lower body or upper body, then it puts you in a really tough position to get a consistent, solid swing off. All right? And so for lower body, I always start with the back leg and loading the back leg properly. All right? And so to do that, we talk about a couple of things, okay? The first thing is that we're trying to get ourselves around this leg. We want to be really strong. We want to feel like this leg is getting us into the ground, all right? What it's going to do is, one, like I said, the back leg, I call it the engine of the swing because when it's time to launch the swing, I'm going to show you over here with Springer, this leg is going to turn. And this turning right here, using the ground to help us turn is going to really, again, set the swing in motion, be able to help us create some really good bat speed and quickness. And also, it'll affect our path. And so we want to do a really good job of being able to load this back leg the right way. The way you do it is by coiling the hips. So A really, really easy way to think about it is if you have baseball pants on and you take this back pocket right here, the back right pocket on your pants, you want to feel like that back pocket is going to turn towards the pitcher slightly. Okay? So you may have heard of coiling before, or a lot of you watch TV on you watch baseball on TV, they'll talk about, oh, look at the hitter getting coiled. Essentially, all that is, again, is taking the back pocket, trying to get it turned towards the pitcher. If your hips are in neutral and they're pointing right back at the pitcher, then when you take your back pocket towards the pitcher, the hips should be closed off. If you're looking out the pitcher, to the right of the pitcher, so slightly, maybe like 10, 15, 20 degrees, okay? So when you start to turn this back pocket this way, the back leg is going to slightly turn back like that. All right, so that's getting the back leg loaded. It's just like if you put a rubber band around your thumb and you pull the band back, you load the band. Same exact thing. When the hips start to coil and the back pocket turns this way, your leg is loaded back that way, putting us in a really good position to be able to turn it when we want to. It allows us to control it. Again, just like that band, when you pull the band back, if you're going to shoot that band at something, well, you're going to pull it back and then you're going to aim, and when you feel like it's time to shoot, you're just going to let go of the band and it's going to fire. Same exact thing with your lower half and getting the back leg loaded. You coil the hips, you turn the back pocket towards the pitcher, that loads the leg, and then as you stride, you keep the back pocket coiled. That keeps the leg loaded, and you stay coiled, stay coiled, stay coiled, until you say, okay, it's time to launch my swing. Now I let my back leg turn. Now, again, I said most of his issues are in the upper body, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But he could still do a better job of getting his lower body ready to hit, and this will really help his bat speed, number one. But it'll also help kind of keep him controlled and keep him back. Because what he does is he's basically in neutral right here, right? Both back pockets are just kind of facing behind him. And all he does is he picks up his front foot, and the second he picks up his front foot, he just kind of falls forward. He shifts his weight to his front leg kind of early, and now he's going to start to turn. And you can see how he gets a little bit forward, right? And most young hitters get forward. And so, for one, when you're not loading your back leg, it's not going to be in as good of a position to turn and create bat speed. But two, when you're just kind of falling forward into your front leg, most hitters their timing will be off. So if the pitch is the exact speed they want, then maybe they'll have a good chance of hitting it. But if it's a little bit faster, a little bit slower, and all you do is just shift forward and hip, well, it's really hard to be consistent, because you're just at the mercy of the ball. You're just, it's just stepping, falling forward, shifting all your weight forward, and then hoping that the speed of the pitch is the speed that you're expecting, versus being able to get the back leg loaded. Get the back leg loaded with the coiling of the hips. Sorry, my fingers are. So get the back leg loaded back this way by coiling the hips, and now you're reading the ball as it's coming. You're around this leg. And whenever it's time to go, now I'm more in control of my swing because I'm in control of my back leg. Okay? So really simple. The second thing I want to talk about is not just getting the back pocket turned, but the other thing that you'll see with most hitters is that they're going to hinge their hips back. So to keep this very simple, we tell the hitters, get your butt behind your heels. And when your butt gets out behind your heels, your chest will get slightly over. And again, this is just putting you in a good athletic position. You'll see this in any sport, whether it's playing defensive basketball or taking a slap shot in hockey or playing football. You're going to see hips hinge back, get your chest slightly over the plate, put you in an athletic position, but also continues to give you that feeling of being around your leg. And so again, when he goes, he's kind of, I would say his butt's a little bit more underneath him instead of hinging his hips back and getting his butt behind his heels. And his chest is pretty vertical. And so once he hinges his hips back a little bit, again, just tell him, say, push your butt back behind your heels just a little bit more. And his chest is going to come forward a little bit more, and then he's going to be in a really good athletic position. And he's going to just hold that position as he strides forward. Now, one more key thing when it comes to this is hitters do this in two ways. Some hitters, like George Springer, George Springer starts really tall, and his back pocket's basically pointed right behind him, and he's going to coil and get his butt out as he picks his foot up the stride. Other hitters are going to preset this move, so they're going to, if you can just imagine his foot still on the ground here, some hitters are going to preset this position where they're going to push their butt out, get their chest over, and they're going to start to coil their hips by getting their back pocket turned before they ever pick the foot up off the ground. Because Christopher has such a small kind of quick stride, it's just like pick up and go. I suggest that he presets, so tries to get his butt turned towards the pitcher slightly. That's going to slightly close his hips off that way. Hinges hips back, so push his butt back behind his heels, get his chest over. Do all of that. Get that all out of the way before he even picks up his foot. And then when he picks up his foot, so basically, again, if you just envision Springer's foot on the ground here, this would be the position that he would get into right here before he ever picks up his foot. And then when he picks it up, he just has to hold this position. Stay coiled, stay butt out, stay chest over until it's time to turn and hit. And he'll be in a really, really good position to do so. All right? So, again, this is not really, really bad, especially for a young kid. This is, it could definitely be improved, but that's not what's causing the major issues in the swing. Okay? What we're going to go to next, we're going to work our way up the body. And this is where I think that, if he's able to make these adjustments and corrections, he'll see a really big difference. So just like we get our leg loaded to get our lower body in position and ready to hit, we got to get our upper body in position to hit. And you do that by what I call a pullback. And so all a pullback is using our back to be able to get the upper body in position to swing. And so, couple key things. To be able to use our back, we have to get our elbow behind our hand, so our right elbow, our back elbow, rear elbow will get behind our right hand. All right, so you can watch Springer making this move right here. So again, stylistically, he starts with the bat really flat, and as it picks up, he starts to get his elbow behind his hand, and his elbow is going to start to retract back behind his body. So the action is, we use a couple different things. The first thing we'll talk about is setting your hand back like you're going to throw a punch into a punching bag. And so the elbow is going to get behind the hands. The elbow is going to retract back this way as you're setting up to throw a punch. And you can feel your back. When your elbow gets behind your hands and you start to move your elbow back behind you, you can feel your back activated and working. And so that's key. When the elbow's down, you're not going to feel the back activated and working. All right, so elbow behind the hands, set the hands back. The other way we talk about it